Good morning. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about weight loss. So today is May the 29th, so it's Friday the 29th of May. And since the 17th of March of this year, I've gone from 139 kilos down to 117.5. I think it was 0.5. I'll put the weight up here. And that's an average of about 2 to 2.1 kilos per week. So I think I've sort of like found the weight loss cheat code for my body. And also, not just with the goal of losing weight, but also to create a lifestyle change and talking about habits and the things that you do. Now, I really don't like all these weight loss jabs and whatever. I think there isn't really a magic solution for anything without any effort. No, I get it. Some of these medications are right for the right type of person, but it's not a long-term solution. I think on average, they said within 2 to 4 years of coming off some of these medications, 75% of the people put that weight back on. And a lot of people seem to find themselves trapped on this medication because they think, if I stop it, I'm going to gain weight again, which is in reality the truth, because you haven't really changed the way that you eat or the way that you live. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the weight loss jabs are right for the right people. But I don't think they should be given, or anybody should take them. Now, the transformations you see online are quite incredible. And I think if you're at a point with your weight that you cannot exercise, then you could use it as a tool to kickstart your weight loss journey until you get to the point where you can exercise, even if it's moderately, and then taper it off and bring the exercise and diet up. Otherwise, you're going to either hit that yo-yo effect every 2 to 4 years, gaining, losing, going back on and back off this medication, or you're going to put the weight back on again, or you're going to be dependent on this stuff. And I don't mean it as an addiction, it could be an addiction because you're scared of putting the weight back on and spending a shit ton of money every month to keep that weight off. And I have seen, the positive effects it's had on people's mental health after being able to lose that weight, which is completely understandable. But again, I still think it should be used as a tool and not as a solution. Now, like I said, I think that I found sort of like the cheat code for my body. And that wasn't, immediately. I went through some trial and error, starting off from March. So first of all, I read Dr. Michael Mosley's book, which was a book about the Mediterranean diet and around diabetes and so forth. And that suggests a low-carb diet and a certain amount of calories. And I didn't want to start counting calories. So I took on that diet, didn't count the calories. I was having, and I took it a little bit more to the extreme, so I cut carbs completely and cut sugar out of my diet as well. So no bread, no milk in my coffee, no sugar in my tea, no cakes, no biscuits, nothing like that. No potatoes, no pasta. So just pretty much meat, non-starchy veg, so anything that grows above the ground I could eat, meat and fish. And I, started off the diet having a breakfast, so I'd have an omelette once I got back in from my walk, mushrooms and peppers and onion, and whatever I fancied having in it at the time. And then in the afternoon, I'd have a snack, a bit of cucumber or something like that. And then in the evening, I'd have a steak with some vegetables or with some salad or some chicken or whatever. And that worked really well for me. And as I was progressing through the diet, how my fitness improved in such a quick time was quite amazing as well. So I went from not being able to walk around to the local co-op without having back pain or feeling tired. I used to go for a walk with my wife in the evening and just literally just around the block, and I'd have to stop because I had backache. Ridiculous. And I would, if we were going anywhere, she said, "Oh, we'll walk up there," and I'd say, "Oh, no, 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 we'll get a taxi," just because I knew that I'd be in pain. To the point now where I can walk, 15 miles on a day and not feel a thing. So in the morning, I'm typically doing anywhere between 10 and 20 kilometers. And then during the rest of the day, I get a few more kilometers or miles as well, because in the evening after my evening meal, I go for another short walk just to help with the digestion. Now, over time, I've modified that diet. So now I'm doing what's called OMAD. And this isn't a fad thing for me. This is just what's working for me. So I have one meal a day, and that meal consists of a piece of meat. That could be steak, that could also be fish, but typically chicken. So a chicken breast, 2 boiled eggs, and 2 slices of Gouda cheese mixed into a big bowl of salad. And I'm talking a big bowl. It's not small. And typically when I've eaten that, I'm feeling quite full. And then after that, I'll have 2 tablespoons of Greek yogurt as a pudding. And I think that's more psychological for me because I love a pudding. Yeah, and I've always said throughout the videos, I think, I understand that in the first couple of weeks, the weight loss is fast, it's mostly water, but I've been very consistent. I've been consistent to around 2 kilos a week. Now, I've had a few stagnant weeks. The week where I was on holiday, I only lost 700 grams. But there, I was drinking some alcohol and I didn't really stick to my diet that much. And some of the days where I didn't walk as far as I normally would, which is understandable. But I was happy that I didn't gain any weight. And as soon as I got back into the flow of things, the weight loss just carried on again. So losing another like 2 kilos in a week. Last week, which was just up until yesterday, which was fantastic. So yeah, I'm upping the amount of steps I'm doing each week, and I feel a lot fitter, so I feel able to do that. And I do have days like yesterday was a day where, and I think your body gives you signs when it needs a little bit more energy. And yesterday, I had a few slices of cheese in between during the day because I just felt like my body needed it. And I think I was misinterpreting some of the cravings that I was having. And yes, I still do get cravings, but I think sometimes you've got to listen to your body and it will tell you when it needs something. And just how I react to those cravings is differently. Instead of going and buying a 4-pack of donuts, now I just have a slice of cheese, or I'll have a boiled egg, or I'll have some cucumber, or a piece of whatever, but something that fits within my diet. My blood sugar's way down, so I'm around anywhere between 4 and 5.5. Never spikes now when I'm eating because I'm not eating anything that can spike yet. And I'm feeling so much better. I also feel that I've made this walking into more of a habit. So it's something that I do every day, and it's something I'm going to carry on doing in the future. Maybe not to the extreme that I'm doing it now, but just to enough to make sure that I can hold my weight. And I will also be introducing carbs back into my diet, but just not yet. My first goal of my diet was to lose 10% of my body fat, which I've, smashed them now at about 20%. Yes, I've smashed that original goal way out of the water. But my final goal is to reach around 85 kilos. So I'm already halfway there. So another 30 kilos to go. And I reckon in the next 6 to 12 months, I'm going to achieve that goal. Ideally, I want to get back down to a weight where I can actually start running again. That would be brilliant because that would really help me maintain my weight. I ran most of my life 6 days a week. And I know that I can maintain a weight of 70 kilos when I'm running because that's what I used to have. But I understand I'm a bit older. mean, that was 6 years ago. It's not that long. But I've got different expectations. I just want to maintain my stamina, maintain my muscles, and stay at a decent weight so that I can fend off anything like diabetes and things like that. So, yeah, I think I found my personal cheat code to losing weight without having to turn to weight loss jabs, which some of my friends have done and they've lost a lot of weight. But again, is it a long-term solution? For me personally, do not think it is. But let me know what you think in the comments about the weight loss jabs. Do you think it's the right move? Have you done it? What are your thoughts on coming back off those jabs? Or have you already come back off them? And what's your experience with putting the weight back on? Or have you managed to actually create a lifestyle change for yourself whilst being on the jabs to be able to maintain the weight that you've achieved with them? That would be, really interesting for me to hear. Right, anyway, thanks a lot for tuning in. If you like to follow my journey a little bit further, then please do subscribe, give the video a like, and drop a comment below. See you in the next one. Thanks, guys.